we are going to change to English because our speakers are international, and we have the pleasure to have Etienne, that is one of the, I think one of probably the best venture capital in crypto. I think that a lot of people really agree with that. But we have different kind of profiles, because we have from Jorge, that is also investor, but also has a more venture or more builder profile. We have Etienne, that is one of the most known crypto venture capital, and we have a fund of funds, that is Theta Capital with Olga. That is really like an overview. It's investing in all funds like Etienne. So I think the best way to present is present yourself and where is your role inside this ecosystem that is very, very, they have different roles. You can be the first, Olga.
Thank you. Thank you, Jesus, and thank you, everybody. Can you hear me properly? This is working? Yeah. More or less? More or less. Better now, great. It's really an honor to be here with Jorge and Etienne. We know each other, and it's such a pleasure. So, well, let's start. I have prepared a few slides. You asked me. Asked me.
Perfect. You can begin with that.
But I will, we'll start only with the introduction, and then we can go back. So, we are a fund of funds program based in the Netherlands called Theta Capital. The program is called Theta Blockchain Ventures. The fund exists, well, the asset management firm exists for over 22 years now, and it has always been a traditional asset manager specialized in alternative assets, which in 2017 started investing in digital assets. So this is the short summary, if I can get it back. But anyhow, I think I do know the summary myself, but I wanted to to be on time. So we have allocated since 2017 about $600 million across 40 different specialized managers who are crypto native VCs, venture capital firms, and that allows us to have the broadest diversification that we have encountered in the market at the moment. We are exposed to about 1,700 projects over all geographies. And and we have the dubious honor of holding a Dutch central bank license, an AIFMD license, which allows us also to do some quite interesting things, even though we are exposed to this very innovative asset class. So that would be your introduction.
So, and you have invested, recently he organized a conference with all the most important venture capital, because as you are investing in all of them, there were, which were the ventures that were in the...
Well, some of our, most successful and also long-standing relationships are with some of the very first venture capital firms that emerged in this field, like Theta Capital was the first to develop vehicles that made Bitcoin investable as early as 2013. Also, Polychain Capital, Blockchain Capital. Like I said, we have over.
The conference
approximately 48.
The conference was Legends. No, it was.
It's called Legends for Legends, and of course, you're invited, and you couldn't make it this year, but next year you have to be there. So we're very proud of this annual event. So
Etienne, you are I meet Etienne in out of events because he's very active with all the founders. They has been also investing in the first moments of the first blockchains. Right now, he's investing like Eigenlayer, risk-taking. They have an amazing portfolio, and I always ask him, give me alpha. I try I hope that they can give me some alpha in this visit. But can you introduce your fund and why are you?
Of course,
always in the best project. Why are you always in the best project?
Thank you so much. Nice meeting everyone. I promise next year I'll do the introduction fully in Spanish. I was a longtime fan of Spanish basketball, ACB. But hey, I'm back in a different career. I'm the founder of TRGC, so early stage venture fund, with a focus on infrastructure, because if you extrapolate the data, what makes it to the top 100 on CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, it's either an exchange coin, stable coin, layer 1, layer 2. So if that's the only data point I have, without being a private equity guy, looking at balance sheet, cash flow statements, you name it. You want to see what does this market appreciate and invest there. So look at, I would say, every layer one out there, I probably invested in 90 of them, right? Because that's what goes to the top 10, right? You have to invest there, right? And the biggest bet I made was mid-19, crypto seemed dead. We invested a huge chunk with the group. My fund was a syndicate before that. We got 3 SAFs of Solana.
Yes, when we met in Solana every point.
Yeah. And 3 SAFs Solana, 15 cent, 20 cent. And then we got in
yes.
and never looked back.
I have to know you before. I know.
Yeah. But I tell you, now looking forward, I want to do a poll with the crowd. First question, raise your hand if you're like every day you wake up, you're like, Larry Fink is awesome, BlackRock. No one? Okay, raise your hand if you're like, I stay awake because I think Binance might die. No one. This is a good crowd, I like it. So we're fairly bullish on the industry because my thesis is, with all we know about macrofinance, not being exposed to this asset class is, I think, the biggest risk of your portfolio, right? What we know with inflation, money printing, all the problems we see in traditional finance, to secure your family's future, your investments, I feel like this asset class, or in general venture, is you need to allocate at least 10 to 20%. And I have a challenge with my whole family. Like you guys have savings accounts. I will even do better with Shiba, right? Like if you know how to play this industry. So my main product, and I tell you, my main product is the people I know. I've been traveling in crypto for 8 years, and I want to leave Madrid with all of your WhatsApp, and let's create value together. So that's my story.
Jorge, your turn.
Well,
No, Jorge has invested. I invest in Unlock. They have right now a venture capital, also a hedge fund. So it's one of the most active also in Spain. There are not so many people in Spain investing in crypto. You are in the role of building and also investing. So
yeah. Well, we started with investing a long time ago. So we started investing. When I say we, it's my co-founder and I. We started investing on the investing arm. I mean, in 2012, and we've always been like investing together. And we've been active in other things that were not crypto. We are both serial entrepreneurs in Web2, and then come 2022, I got together with another friend, and we decided to build Unlock to do NFT collateralized lending. Which right now we're pivoting more into tokenized real world asset collateralized lending, which is something that we had kind of on our roadmap for like in 5 years, because we thought it would catch on much later, but we're now seeing a lot of protocols getting quite decent traction, and we're making a bet that in the next bull run that will be something very interesting. So we're focusing on that. The reason why this is interesting is because if you look at traditional finance and you look at the size of the debt market versus its underlying, depending on the vertical, you find that the debt market is 70 to 120% of its underlying, 120 when it's over leveraged. In crypto, you know, if you look at DeFi and lending TVL and crypto market cap, it's a 1%. And the reason for that is that borrowing against liquid assets such as ETH or I don't know, uni tokens or stable coins and so on is a good use case, but it's a niche use case in traditional finance because you lose the utility that borrowing brings of making something that is illiquid liquid, right? It only serves basically to hedge or to bet against something without losing total exposure to it. So we think there's a tremendous market to be unlocked, hence the name, in crypto, in lending, if you borrow against things like, again, illiquid assets, right? And those were initially represented as NFTs and PFPs and stuff like that, but where the big pie lies is in real world assets, future cash flows with like token streams such as Sablier or Superfluid, all those things, right? And then on the investing side, we run a couple hedge funds out of Luxembourg with this friend of mine where we started investing a long time ago. We don't do venture investments. We only do liquid tokens. Some of our team members are here. So that's what we do in crypto.
Okay, so we pass the next question. Can we do more about, I think, general question. What do you think about L1's war in general, Solana or Ethereum, I don't know, Telegram, or what are the things, what your venture capital, what kind of venture are you looking for?
Let me tell you a little bit about our investment thesis.
Yeah.
And I knew a little bit about the question, so hence we prepared this because when you asked a very traditional asset manager like us, why do you do what you do? You have a European Central Bank license. It boils down precisely to that infrastructure and L1s that you mentioned, and to why we think this is such an incredible investment opportunity. And that is because what we have done is we've defined the entire investable class, which is actually beyond crypto, beyond Bitcoin. We enjoyed the conversation this morning, and it's really, you cannot understand what we're doing without really understanding Bitcoin. But Bitcoin just basically opens the door to not only other assets, but just a whole host of technologies. And these technologies is what we call, it's a new type of internet protocols, and it's what we call protocol businesses. So these are extensions of internet infrastructure that are actually investable. So imagine what we always say, and of course have to do with the transfer of value, which is what we've heard all morning. What we say to our investors is, imagine that you can own a piece of the internet. And each time somebody sends a video, streams something, sends an email, you get a fee. You get a proportional percentage of the benefit of that. So, and of course, these businesses are very important, and very significant because they actually resemble traditional businesses. People earn fees if they perform actions in them, and they also work as public infrastructure, and they're open 24/7, and they're global. So this is really a very interesting class. So to go to your question, the L1 category and the L2 categories also, the scalability solutions to enhance the throughput of the layer 1 infrastructure, it's the working horse of our investment thesis. We think the future will be multi-chain. So even though most of our investment thesis is built around the ecosystem, the Ethereum ecosystem, and all the L2 solutions that are built on top, we think there's space for multiple layer 1s that are specialized, and we can see that with Avalanche, with Near, especially with Solana. So, it's not going to be 100 or 500,000 L1s, but we will have specialized multi-chain future, yes.
So, again, can you explain you invested recently in Eigenlayer, can you explain me the 2 or 3 last investment that was your process of, in terms of how you decide this was an opportunity? If you can comment the last one.
Yeah, of course. I could just let Olga keep talking, and I could answer the same thing Olga just said, right? Because you look at these L1s, and just as a question like, what if every country has their own L1? If you look at stability AI, they're like every country needs to have its own language model training capacity, right?
So you understand like a countries, like a digital network state.
Yeah,
Balaji,
of course. It's a way to look at it. Where is that expansion going to come from, right? And that is a possibility, right? Whether it's closed source or open source, this almost infinite in what's possible based on even what Olga said, like say use case or application specific opportunities or angles to look at it. So that's what we look at. We've invested in, indeed, like you said, Eigenlayer. We've invested in Masa. We've invested in Fuel. I think the current portfolio, Shardium, I think, is going to be one of the biggest L1s in Shardium in India, Nepal, Pakistan, That's where they're starting from. And if you look at the numbers, it's 2 billion people, right? It's 2 billion people. Europe has 700 million almost, and that region alone is 2 billion people, right? So the value capture there, I can see Shardium in the top 50 in the next 2 years, right? I'm launching a podcast next year in January, and I'm going to interview the founder of TCP/IP, right? With all that said, we are here because someone built TCP/IP, and 50, 60 years later, we're still using it, right? And to Olga's slide about imagine if you could own a piece of TCP/IP 60 years ago, right? It's where value captures happen, value extraction happens. So as a way to invest in that, and you can have direct access simply with a Chrome plugin, MetaMask, or whatever it's called, like I said, you'd be crazy not to do it. Right?
We were in Japan recently. Well,
Yeah.
recently. And what did you extract from Japan? Because it was a very, very big bet in Japan about Web3.
Yeah. In 2020 mid-lockdown, I invested in the biggest L1 in Japan right now. Actually, I have two. One is A-Star, Sota Watanabe. One of my top 10 favorite CEOs in crypto. And there's another one, Intmax. Intmax is also launching with a Japanese founder. It's a massive, massive ecosystem. They've been quiet in recent years, but as they say, the attitude towards risk in the Far East is far greater than we see here.
Yeah.
Right? If you look at even Korea, you can trade directly on exchanges and different venues directly with your fiat through your bank account. That is only I saw in Japan and in Korea, but it's a possibility it's going to happen here as well, right? That's why we invested in the first license also from the Dutch National Bank, derivatives exchange coming out of Amsterdam with a French founder. So like I said, you want to invest where the biggest value capture happens and then be there early, sometimes even convince a very talented founder to start that entrepreneurial journey. And then we just put down capital, the team, the resources, and then help them go from 0 to 1 and then 1 to 100, right? So I fully agree with that thesis. Is where the biggest value capture and extraction happens. Yeah.
Thank you.
I see, layer ones in different buckets. If you look at Web 2, not every company uses the same infra for everything, right? You have different infras that are specialized in different things, and in crypto we have like several paradigms of layer ones. To me, there's 4. There's Bitcoin, which is one paradigm. You have modular blockchains, monolithic blockchains, and mycelium networks, right? And there's been fights going on in these last 3 about which is the model that perseveres, right? And I think we're past that, more or less. Modular blockchains, it's obvious that Ethereum has kind of won that battle. And I think all EVMs that are trying to fight that will eventually become layer 2s. We've seen that with Astar, which you just mentioned, and some others, right, which have built on the CDK. In the monolithic chains, there's an argument for there to be more diversity, because there you can do different specializations on giving up on different things in favor of others. So you do have Solana, you do have Sei, you do have others, right, which are specialized on different use cases, and there I think we will have a bigger diversity. On mycelium networks, it makes not much sense, because at the end of the day you have networks inside of the network, so it will be kind of like the modular blockchain where one will prevail. The reason why the modular blockchain has a winner takes all as well is because of its modularity. You can pick and choose, right? You have Eclipse, which is, for example, a layer 2 over Ethereum, which works on the Solana virtual machine, uses Celestia for data availability and zero risk for the fraud proofs and so on. And then, for example, Bitcoin, which I've left to the end of this on purpose, I think it already does the job it was born to do perfectly, which is be a store of value and be a fallback asset, right? I think one of the issues of many chains and of some part of the Bitcoin community itself is trying to be everything. And the issue when you're everything is it's very naive to think that, let's say that, blockchain and Web3 becomes the success that we all want it to be. And it's very naive to think that in 30 years from now, maybe 60, maybe 100, I don't know, but at some point in time, even if there's like a modular blockchain that is the solution for modular blockchains and a monolithic blockchain that is the winner there, that it's still going to be the same one in the same shape and form in 100 years, right? The issue there is if we tie our monetary system to the technology, then we're tied with that technology because changing a global monetary system is very hard. So let's say that ETH would become the global money, and I love Ethereum, but I'm not a believer in ETH as kind of store of value, maybe as currency, but not a store of value. It would become the store of value, and then a better modular blockchain technology comes along, we wouldn't be able to change. Because in order to change, if it would be successful at becoming the global store of value and global currency, we would need to change the whole economic system worldwide for that technology advancement to happen. Same thing with Bitcoin, right? If the people who are pushing for Bitcoin to become a very inefficient, by the way of doing like smart contracts and like all the cool things you can do with other chains, if that would be successful, then as the others progress, which they're progressing at a like 10x speed than Bitcoin in that aspect, we would be stuck with that technology almost forever, right? And it would be, whereas right now, if Ethereum becomes obsolete for any reason, we can go back to Bitcoin at any time, right? And especially with zero-knowledge proofs and bridges using zero-knowledge, you can create native bridges between both. So you could have, natively bridged Bitcoin on any of these chains, use it as store of value or currency, and then if it becomes obsolete, you just put it back and move it to the new chain, right?
Okay, so in order to finish the last question, I don't know if you want to add something to this conversation that you want to share with the other people.
Yes, well, like I say, I can continue with our how do we do what we do, and I wanted to leave you maybe with a final note on what it is that we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
So in terms of how does a fund of funds, well, how do we do the strategy that we've set up? It's always, as mentioned earlier, through a range of crypto-native VCs. The reason why we do this is because there's not one single venture capital firm that could get exposure to all the full stack, all the different verticals, all the different niches, and all the geographies. So we do that, and that's, at the end of the day, we are risk managers. So it's all about diversification. This is a quick overview of some of our highlights in our portfolio, which of course evolves every quarter. But you can see some of the different areas of specialization, which of course more than half of this is actually infrastructure, so layer ones, layer twos. Also centralized infrastructure and market infrastructure that links to the traditional financial system, what we call Web3 infrastructure, which is mostly tooling and middleware, so solutions that are working with for developers to continue to innovate. Then of course DeFi, decentralized finance, and then what we call social and gaming, and more and more we are starting to understand as consumer crypto applications, which is probably coming very, very strong in this next cycle. So, and our key lesson throughout the last 6 years is that sustainable investment behavior is key. And in order to achieve that, knowing that this is, crypto is always about, it has a kind of the casino reputation. If you put a price feed, a 24/7 price feed on any industry, there's going to be a speculation. So this is kind of like, the thing that really spikes this industry. Working through several years with our partners has really allowed us to understand what is sustainable, and for us, venture is the perfect vehicle for that. And I'll share one example, which is Arbitrum, which is obviously an optimistic roll-up, and many of you know this project. We have had to wait from 2018 till 2023 and to today to actually, and we have not yet exited this position through our underlying managers, but we have exposure via 5 different funds to Arbitrum. We invested, our first exposure we gained in 2018 when the company was valued at 60 million. The company, and it was funded by Princeton professors, the company as of mid of 23 was above 10 billion. Now, that is the kind of game that we are playing. So like I say, it's not for everybody, but it is, like we have liquid, we have non-liquid. We're working on the venture side, and that allows us to build multi-year relationships, not only with projects, but with underlying companies. So I will skip maybe some of this, but if anybody's curious about our vehicles, and always as a disclaimer, anytime somebody asks about performance, we do have a license, so I have to say, past performance is no guarantee of future success. But the why now, I think it's really critical. Right now we are seeing funding rates for venture in the industry that are at the lowest or comparable to almost 6 years ago. And we are doing this at a moment when the man that moves $8 trillion in assets is saying that actually tokenized securities are the next largest market. Don't take it from us, take it from BlackRock. And so we really think that every single investor should be positioning themselves at this point. And we're there,
We have to get
to support
this.
that.
You have to get this and put it in the entrance of the conference.
Totally. It's not by chance. I was not the only one to mention BlackRock, of course. I'm looking for one of our speakers as well. But anyhow, not that Larry Fink is our hero, but he's really going to facilitate the next large wave. And I've taken enough time now. But thanks. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you for all your insights. Really valuable. Etienne.
Closing words. I call Larry Fink the greatest CMO crypto ever had. Right? We should send him some tokens. I want to close with 2 things. One is I would love to connect with all of you. I feel like I kind of like no longer think in terms of countries. You think in terms of the friends you have in different pockets of the world. Second, I would say, remember this, not risking is risk, because it gives you a false sense of security. And then thirdly, I have a folder on my Telegram with VIPs, and I must say publicly, you're in there. You're one of the greatest people I know.
Oh, thank you.
Jesus is going to win a Nobel Prize for being human. Such a great guy.
Now I have to give Jesus like some expensive wine bottle or something to make up for that. Like, touching on what Olga was and on that slide, I think this is the moment where, in this next cycle, we need to prove the world that crypto is useful for people beyond the people who are crypto native, right? And I think tokenization of real world assets and of securities is a perfect example. And it's also an example, I think it's the biggest lever we have for a very simple reason, and it's that it is useful for the largest asset managers. It is useful for the average Joe who through his pension fund or through his average product is investing in the largest asset managers of the world. And if we onboard all those people to crypto, even without noticing, right? We put so much effort into saying, we are a dApp on Ethereum that does this, and that. And, when you go on Instagram, it doesn't say, we're a database that runs on Amazon Web Services, right? Because no one cares for that. And I think this is the moment where we need to make a big effort to go past that pride of, hey, I'm in crypto, and just saying, hey, we're a tech startup, right? And we use this tech infrastructure versus that tech infrastructure, but no one cares about that really. And focus really on the value add, right? And focus really on the solution. And that is one of those, right? And I see a lot of people in the crypto industry who are like, oh no, the TradFi folks, they're coming and so on and so forth. Well, if we don't let them in, then, all that talk about being open and being permissionless and being democratic and whatnot is bullshit, because you're not being permissionless, you're not being open by saying these are the bad guys and we're the good guys, right? So I think we need to leave that aside and just build technology that is for everyone, build technology that abstracts the technology and that focuses on the value. And I think really that's the biggest challenge we have in this next cycle, because if we don't prove that, it's been too long already for us to prove that really.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. It's a pleasure to be with you here with very good friends. And okay, thank you.
Thank you.